somewhat a more formal UCD process here. We got very lucky. We of our 4 people, 3 of us actually fit the brief, and that more or less we came from outside of the UK and settled down here. So we started out with a sort of context inquiry, which was basically us chatting of, so your first couple of months, how was that? What were the frustrations? What were the big issues? What were you dealing with? Trying to get some sense of commonalities in our experience, which we then moved on to by trying to abstract ourselves and create personas that described the different ways that we were as immigrants, which, because of the makeup of the people, creates a very interesting persona. Like, for example, Sarah and Andy are both students. And during this inquiry phase, we found something out, that the student persona is not isolated. They have their local university, their other students, their friends that help us, that help them, and at least you may not know where you're all going, but you're all together, not going somewhere because you're lost. Jacob, which is an economic migrant, he's older, he's not a student, he's a professional. He's the one who's a little bit more isolated, but he's got more money. So he's got more technology, he's got more ways of getting in touch with people. So we just, looked at who these people were, what their aspirations were, what they were doing, what they were looking for, and made a sort of an abstract persona of taking their salient points. Now, it doesn't mean that every Post-it note here fits all 3 of them, but pretty close, pretty maps a little bit well and hard on them. So they're money conscious, for example, because, they're students, they have no money, and Jacob is really tired of being nickel and dime for being a foreigner. It's what we call stupid foreigner tax. Oh, you can't start a bank account here, pay $72 for a bank, 72 pounds to make a bank account, stuff like that. No, you can't have a contract, only pay as you go. There's a language barrier. On the other hand, they're risk takers. They're very open. They're very inquisitive. If you're not a risk taker, you don't move. They have tech knowledge, but they carry old phones, because they're price conscious. If you've just come from Jakarta and you're here on a PhD scholarship, you're not going to buy an iPhone because you can't afford it. So you still have an N95. So that's, be kind. So that moves over into the characteristics of the service, what the service that we want to make needs to fulfill. So it needs to be real time, because one of the things that we found in the context inquiry is that the city changes depending on the time of day. Don't go to Sainsbury's at 3:30 p.m. on a Sunday. It's a really bad experience. Go hungry instead. If you want to print something at 7:30 a.m., you've got a problem. But if you want to go to Tesco's at 9 p.m., that's great. There's nobody there, and it will be open for another hour. So it has to be, really actual. This language has to be really simple. While they're very Wi-Fi connected at home and being students, once they're out and about, you're really talking texts, because they don't have the best data plan or a phone that can handle a data plan. If they've been here for 3 weeks, they've got a problem. But it's the question that was there is what's the difference between a newbie in the city and an experienced person? And we, talking also, we also have a Londoner in our group, which is really useful.
10 seconds.
The difference is, when you have a problem, knowing what the options are. The newbies do not know the options. We have one route, there's a problem, we're lost. The Londoners, they know how to help you. So the service that we're looking at is something that's real-time, that helps you based on where you are, from knowledge from other parts of your social circle.
Wow, you did it in 10 seconds. Someone has said.
You talk about this whole distributed knowledge, and then you also mentioned about building this service. There's a lot of unstructured data information in what you're talking about. And how are you going to make sense of those unstructured data and turn that into something searchable, findable?
Our first instinct that we're talking about is that, and we haven't, as said, we don't have the wireframes ready to go. But we're finding out, talking about, things like Quora, things like Foursquare, that the unstructured part is the Q&A, is the knowledge exchange. So this has to be very human-based, is where the trend that we're going. Now, Bing, for example, tries to do its best with simple questions and answers. So maybe there's a technology solution there, but we're really looking more at a Q&A version that's localized. Right now, this could change in the next 10 minutes when we get together. We're still at that phase where things are very fluid.
Did you have a question?
Who's going to feed the information to these people? Like,
Their
who's
friends.
texting them back to say the options?
We're looking at their friends because they're easily incentivized. They're so price conscious.
So that they might already know an answer to one of these questions, so they're helping their friend out with that.
Mechanical Turk, the Amazon version, like, hey, let's score some points. Oh, there are questions here. Let me answer them.
Okay.
Again, give us 10 minutes. We'll change our mind. Carol.
What context will I use this app in? Am I using this when I'm out on the go and I
Yes.
want to find out something?
Yes.
Okay,
It's
so I
a
have
now
my
app.
N95 no data plan, and I'm using this through text. Okay, but I do probably have to set this up beforehand somehow.
They're very Wi-Fi connected when they're home.
Okay. And that,
Because
do you
they're
see that as
students.
part of the mobile app, or do you see that as an external app? Okay.
We haven't discussed that yet, and my first instinct from my background is cross-platform service, and we set it up first, and then, I've got so much respect for Twitter that can be set up with just one text, and maybe we should explore
So
that.
your mobile app is very focused, very much in context, in world use.
That's where we're trending right now. There's one more question here at the front.
It's very short.
No, it's all right.
Okay.
Sort of like answer the previous question on the
What you can also do, we have a lunch break and we fill up things. So if you find one team that says something very interesting or you want to know more about their approach, just go and talk to them. It's not a competition, so you can share.
And also,
And
we're
we'll
immigrants.
start
Talk to us if you need validation. I had a Northern Line issue today. I'm very frustrated.